Hello and welcome to Board Game Royale, where two games fight for the affection of the board game curious. I'm the universal board game idiot and co-host, Marcus Beard.
I'm co-host and serial liar, Joel Windles.
And I'm Glenn White, the boy that brings all the games to the earth.
Well, guys, we've made some changes this week, haven't we, Joel? Do you want to explain why this episode of the great Board Game Royale will be a little different to the last one?
Yeah, well, I came home yesterday, and when I tried to open the front door, there was just mail everywhere, and I just couldn't open the door, and there was all these letters everywhere.
Okay. I thought you were saying men.
Like old-fashioned mail.
Yeah.
Like telegrams. And our fans have been mailing in saying they thought the last episode was terrible, and it was mostly my fault.
How come it's all gone to your door?
That was just because the two games were so similar.
Oh, we're quite similar. They were both in...
Shouldn't give me your address
Yeah, I
out.
shouldn't have done that.
Well, it was the Best Play headquarters store.
Whoa, hang on. Quick, break the podcast for a sec. Quick team chat. Joel, Glenn, when did we decide Best Play HQ was going to be Joel's house?
It's not. It's a huge, like, multi-story building in central London.
We just...
Okay, let's break the team talk for a second team talk. Guys, why have you not let me inside the HQ yet? Like, you guys have both got key cards, and you just haven't decided.
Do you know how expensive key cards
Not very, at all.
I mean, our budget doesn't stretch that far.
Well, it's stretched to 2.
We've just spent all this money on the office.
And Glenn put all of those Nazi paraphernalia around all over the place, ate into most of our 2017 budget.
All right, okay. Well, we can talk about this like after we're done doing this. But Glenn, if you hit record back on the podcast, we can start going into it.
Yeah. I'll find the record button. Should be on again.
Okay, cool. So this week the games are going to be...
Last time our games were too similar. That's the problem. They're too similar.
So this week the games are going to be a little bit different. So Joel, what are you bringing to the table?
I am bringing a game called Imhotep. The name comes from the Egyptian mummy from the famous Brendan Fraser vehicle called The Mummy.
Glenn White?
I am bringing a modern classic, Dominion, which takes its name from its creator, Dominic Inyon.
I don't think either of these things are
Dominic
true, and I
Onions,
don't like
it's
the way you're
pronounced.
deceiving me this early on. I want to hear about Imhotep. Joel, hit me with it.
Okay, serious mode. So it's an ancient Egyptian puzzler that sees players ship resources to build pyramids and score points. So what that means, in essence, is there's these 5 ships or 4 ships, depends, each round changes. And on your turn, you can do 3 things. You can put one of your resources on a ship. You can go and get some more resources if you run out, or you can move one of the ships. Now, the ships can go to these little harbours, and each of the harbours has a different thing, like a marketplace, or a place where you can build pyramids, or a place where you can build obelisks. And you get all sorts of different points for how well your pyramid was built or how tall your obelisk is. So really what you're trying to do is get your little resources and put them in places where you can score points.
That does sound very simple.
But the twist is you can move people's ships to places they don't want to go.
That seems rude.
So it's extremely funny. It is rude. You know, you're sitting there thinking of your plan, thinking like, oh, I'm going to build the best obelisk in the world. I've stacked up all my fellas at the front of the ship. And then Jasmine will move me to a place I don't want to go,
So
like a burial chamber or something.
Kind of like a strategy sort of game, but all the strategy is kind of taken away from you by other players, really. So you can never plan too far in advance.
Yeah, I guess it can be it can be frustrating in that respect, but there's always a good plan B. So you might have loaded up a ship with your little brown men. I think they're cubes, yeah, brown cubes. And you're like, yes, I can't wait till I get to the market. And someone takes you somewhere else, and you think, I'm going to see the bright side of this and take some points I wasn't thinking of. Anyway, so Glenn might put his little white cube at the front of a boat, and I think, I'm going to go where he's going to go. Put my brown cube on, and he takes us off to build a pyramid,
Nice.
and we both share points together. But the third player might think, not happy about this, and actually they move the boat before we can do that to somewhere we don't want to
So
be.
do you kind of end up forming alliances that are known to everyone? If that does happen, are you and Glenn viewed by everyone as being on the same team? Or is it just a happy accident? Right.
They're very short-term alliances. It would be like, let's go here together and distribute the points evenly. I mean, realistically, it's not a really deep strategy game. People who love board games and look for rich mechanics and advanced tactics, they probably won't find it here. But what's nice is if you're bringing it home for Christmas, it's very easy. All you have to do is put men on boats, drive them about.
That sounds fun. What does it look like on the
points.
table? Is it pretty? Is it sturdy?
It's really nice pieces, actually. So there's 5 harbours and a handful of boats. But the nicest parts are these little cubes, actually bigger than cubes in most games, but they're painted in really nice colours and they stack nicely. And by the end of the game, you've got an actual pyramid in the middle.
Glenn, tell me about Dominion.
Dominion. So Dominion is a kind of modern classic. It is what you'd call a deck building game. And so you're familiar with what cards are?
I know cards.
Cards, and cards go in decks. And so Dominion, the theme of it, the thing that you are all monarchs. You're all monarchs and you're trying to expand your kingdom. But you're up against all these other monarchs. So there's 2 to 4 players, and what you're actually doing is you're kind of building a little machine, or that's what it feels like anyway, metaphorically rather than physically. And so in the middle of the board are a bunch of cards, and you can buy them. And in your hand you have other cards, and you might have gold, and you can use that gold to buy cards. And you might use that gold to buy more gold. And every time you buy a card, it goes into your discard pile. Once your deck runs out, and it's at the start of the game, I can't remember exactly how big it is, but your deck is a few cards.
What's on the
like
cards? I'm buying these cards. They're in my deck. I'm shuffling them around. What are they? What do they do? What are they doing?
So they might do things like let you draw more cards. They might let you buy more than one thing this turn. They might let you get rid of something that you don't want from your deck, because what you end up doing, you see, is you buy a few cards, you put them in your tiny deck, your deck starts getting bigger, and every time you run out of cards, you shuffle everything back in and go again. And so you end up creating this little engine where you're like, play a card that lets you draw a few more cards, and you play a card that lets you buy something, and you play a card that lets you draw a few more, and you play a card that gets rid of a card, and you kind of build this little engine that can cycle through your deck as quickly as possible. And what you're trying to do is amass victory points. And this is where the game gets really interesting, because the victory points are also cards, and they're useless. They do nothing.
Right.
So when you draw them, they just do fuck all. And so
But you
can
need
get
them
really
to win the
stuck if
game.
you need them to win the game. So it ends up being this thing where you're trying to put enough in there to win, but not too many where it just cogs up your machine and stops you being able to do anything. And there's bits of interactivity as well. There's bits of being able to kind of stop other people doing things, or kind of destroy their turn a bit. And actually the game is kind of modular. There's a game that you get with a recommended bunch of cards that you should set out. There's a load of other cards in there, so you can configure the game in different ways, and there's countless expansions. I don't know how many expansions there are at this point, 5 or 6, that add more interactivity if that's what you want, or less. And the game ends when I think it's 3 of the sets of cards on the table have been bought. It might be more than 3. But it means that there's this sort of player-controlled end. So if you think you're amassing enough victory points, you start rapidly buying up all the cards that are very low in quantities that are left to try and end the game. But other people are also sort of jockeying for that and trying to move things around. So it's a really interesting game.
This sounds cool.
Kind of figuring out a little puzzle.
What it's kind of reminding me of is I'm imagining sort of playing an old school role playing game where I'm a lone wanderer going through the wasteland or something, and I get a bit of armor that makes me a little bit stronger, and then because I'm stronger, I can like kill more things and level up a bit quicker. And then I'll get something else that will help me kill even more things even quicker. And then slowly I keep going round and round and round, which is what I love about those games, is that you get more powerful, and then you gain more things, and you end up collecting all this loot.
Yeah, exactly. And what I enjoy about it is there are just some of the simple ways that you interact with other people. Like, one of the things is there's a card that lets you curse someone else, and curses are just also victory point cards. They're like, I think they're worth like one less victory point, and then they get stuck in their decks, and then you can put cards in people's decks that they don't want in there, so then that annoys them as well, and then you kind of get counteraction, and you can actually fill up your deck with defensive cards to protect you, but then again, they're not helping you win the game another way. So it's an interesting strategy game where you have to adapt.
I want to add something to the conversation here. So I love Dominic Onions. He's been like a father to me, and Dominion is a good game. But the problem is, at the end of the game, you've built up this huge engine, like Glenn described, and you've got like 50 cards in your hand, and it's really hard to hold them all, and someone's going through, and it takes them like 10 minutes to do their go. And so you end up sitting there holding all these cards, waiting for the guy before you to finish their hand. So it loses a bit of pace by the end. I think it's better at the beginning than it is at the end.
So how long, when someone is enacting their, their engine, their hand, how long, in the final rounds, Joel, how long does that take? How long can it take per person?
The whole game isn't that long, is it, Glenn? 45 minutes?
Well, in my head, 45 minutes is kind of a long time. But then again, I'm growing, I'm learning about things. But I imagine the later rounds, particularly if there are 5 of you, you've an actual wonderful engine, and it's fun, and then you watch 5 other people do it, and you probably get a bit bored.
It's a nice opportunity to talk to your friends. There's a bit of downtime for you. You can kind of pay attention to what they're doing. But it also depends on the cards you're using. Some cards involve far more player interactivity than others, so you can kind of tailor it to whatever your group likes. So some groups like to just, sit back, chill, have a chat while this game's kind of going on.
Quickly.
Right. I'll come clean as well. I think Imhotep has a bad end game, because what you do, you have, let's say, 2 more goes, and you sit there calculating the exact maximum number of points you can get. And so it becomes almost a bit mathematical and cold. And the end should be slightly more exciting. So I think we've chosen 2 games that are bonded by their underwhelming end games.
That's the theme this week, underwhelming end games.
Yeah, it's really punchy. We should have called our podcast that.
Yeah, underwhelming end games. It just makes me
really sad.
Like that film, Ender's Game.
I got a review on People that was underwhelming end game of me.
I got the same people to do a review of me as well. It just was, I didn't really get it, but it said pieces missing.
I was thinking People, the app, People with 2 E's. Is that a thing?
Oh, that app, yeah. I thought you said you just got people to review you. Yeah, just got a little human audit.
My doorbell's going, which is weird. So,
all right. Okay, Joel, here's your one chance to bribe the heck out of me. Because
I will get you that ID card.
The ID card. What level of access am I going to have? Can I go in the Dominion room?
Just purple.
And you guys have red.
Just purple for now.
So that's cool. Why? Why purple?
Why will I let you have access?
I'm okay with access, but I want that top level. I want to get to the vault. I want to Scrooge McDuck around the vault.
If you let me win the next 3 episodes, I will see what I can do.
I'll just have to see.
Sorry, it was just one of our fans wanted to come play Dominion. And,
that guy again. Was that Dominic?
Yeah, it was Dominic, and I had to tell him that it wasn't a live audience podcast, so he's gone now.
My choice through completely fair means, and with no external interaction at all, just going by my what my gut tells me, it's going to go with Joel's game, which was called Imhotep. Because I like the idea of it. Just sounds like pushing boats around, kind of. It sounds like it's the thing where people can get together rather than where people draw apart. So thanks for tuning in to Board Game Royale, where we make 2 games fight so we can choose the best one in a totally fair and rigorous way. We'll be here every week with 2 new games that we'll be discussing, explaining, and crowning one of them champion every single week. You can find the podcast on iTunes, on definitely on iTunes, SoundCloud.
iTunes.
Give us a few reviews. you review us on
again.
iTunes. That does really help us out. And if you like us, tell us about things. You can tell us about things. Email us at games@bestplay.co. You can also tell people about us, and that would really help. Go to bestplay.co to see audio, visual content like this and other articles. Until next time, I'm Marcus Beard.
I'm Glenn White.
I'm Joel Windles. That's a fish out of water.